Hello and welcome to lesson 4 of our Rubank Elementary Method book video series for the tuba. This is for younger tuba players, newer tuba players, or anybody who wants to get a little bit more information about their fundamentals. Check the description down below for more information on this whole program that I've made, but for now we're just gonna jump right into it. This is the first page in the book that we start working with quarter notes. Now we've talked about breathing, we've talked about tonguing, and we've talked about producing a good tone. Now we need to be able to talk about all of those things in this context. Hopefully you've been practicing the tonguing we talked about a couple weeks ago. Tip of the tongue, top of the teeth. What I really want us to focus in on this one is using the appropriate tonguing and combining it with a good amount of air. What we're gonna do with this, just like in the other videos, there will be 4 ticks of the metronome, but I want us to make the conscious note that on beat 3 and 4, we take a breath. An important tool as tuba players that we need to realize is we need to use as much time as we have to take an appropriate amount of air. That helps our sound an incredible amount, and it's a fantastic practice to begin at this level. We'll be going 92 beats per minute on this page. We'll get 4 beats. On 3 and 4, we breathe, and then on the 5th beat, we play. As an example, it'll sound like this. 1, 2. And that's basically what we want to do there. Make sure we're taking the breath at every point we can. Not only in that beginning, but breathe through all of these half note rests that we have. Especially in the first couple measures, we have 2 half rests. Use that entire time frame to fill up your air. Then when we introduce the quarter rest on line 5 and moving forward, try and take in as much air as you were taking up in the half rests, but do it in half the time. It's all about getting that appropriate level of air in order to play the tuba. So as you're playing this with me, as you're watching, really focus on what I'm doing with my breath. This is page 6, lesson 4, 92 beats per minute. we do this, just to take a little break, it's worth noting, like in line 6, for example, there is not a lot of time to take a breath. So that's why it's so important to understand how much air you need. That's why we're taking plenty of time to tank up in the beginning and in the longer rests. But once you figure out what that amount is that produces the best tone for you, you need to be able to get that in the time frame between notes. So if you'll notice in line 6, I was either breathing every 2 measures or every 4 measures, but there's never a spot where I have a full rest to breathe. You have to be able to play the full value of the note, take a quick breath that will fill you up until your next opportunity to breathe, and then be able to enter in on the next note in time. You'll find, especially in younger tuba sections, that they're either not taking enough breath, which is a big problem, but once you do start getting them to take bigger breaths, they're not coming in on time because their breathing is slowing them down. As you're doing this, really focus on taking a big full breath in time. That basically wraps up everything that I wanted to talk about on this lesson. It's just really important to keep in mind the importance of breath control. And as we introduce these quarter notes, I think it can kind of throw people off. You want to focus on the tongue, but what you really need to be focusing on is the air, especially at this level. And it's so important not to forget that. Obviously, these video lessons are great, but they do not replace one-on-one instruction. Check the description down below for a private lesson with me. If you're not in my area, online lessons are totally doable. Especially at this level, the things we can talk about in an online private lesson can sometimes be just as good as an in-person lesson. So keep that in mind. Check the description down below for information on that. That pretty much wraps up this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. Go make life musical, and I'll see you next week.